Today I want to talk a little bit about why I choose to use a physical dictionary, a paper book, rather than the one built into my phone. Let's get into it. If you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and cutting down on your technology usage, sometimes by the use of other technologies. I've been away for the last few weeks working on a couple of jobs out on the east coast of Canada, and then I had a wedding as well. So I've been on the road, honestly, living out of my car most of that time. It's nice to be back, and it's nice to finally film a video and talk to you guys. This is gonna be a pretty casual one here. I'm just kind of sitting here drinking a little bit of Magic Mind that I poured into some oat milk, and I'm really enjoying that as well. Magic Mind has been just kind of a blast. I'm glad that they hooked up with me because they gave me a couple of packs of this stuff, and I've been doing their 7-day challenge, and we're past that now. It's helped me kind of keep focused and then carry on that kind of energy that you would get from something like a coffee, but for the rest of the day and without any sort of crash associated with it as well, and without any of those jitters. So it's been pretty nice. I have a link in the description if you're interested in picking up some Magic Mind yourself. There's a promo code for the channel, so go check that out if you are interested. I think you'll enjoy it. So I have talked a little bit about why I use a physical dictionary rather than the one on my phone before. It was one of the first videos that I posted on this channel when I started posting regularly. I'll link that above if you're interested in finding it. It's a pretty good video, but I also was just getting into doing that at that time. It was when I was really just beginning my kind of foray into the low-tech lifestyle, and I was trying to find strategies that I could in order to kind of disconnect from my smartphone and kind of substitute other tools in place of it. Since that time, I have still been rolling with a physical dictionary, and I love it. This is a different dictionary than the one that I had in that video, and we'll get into what this is and why I like this one particularly a little bit later. But I want to start off again by talking about just kind of why I got into getting a dictionary in the first place. Why would you use a dictionary when literally every word you ever need a definition for is available from your phone? Well, that is a question that I kind of found myself reckoning with about a year ago when I shared that video with you guys. That's really when I started getting into the low-tech lifestyle stuff, as I told you about. I had already got the punked phone. I was already starting to think about ways, little tips and tricks that I can use to get myself a little bit more distance from those technologies, which can be so distracting. And that really was the reason why I went to the dictionary in the first place. It was one of those things that I haven't used a physical dictionary. I hadn't used a physical dictionary for so long at that point. You know, back in elementary school, I feel like they were like standard issue. Like I feel like we got a physical dictionary and a calculator, and we had to have those things when we went to school. It was like our pencil case, our physical dictionary, and our calculator, and then you're rolling off to school in your backpack, you know? But ever since that time, I pretty much never had a dictionary again. I don't think I had one in high school, certainly not in university or any time up until now. We definitely have went super deep into technology ever since that time. I remember getting basically around the time that I ditched carrying a dictionary around was around the time where I got my first phone. And certainly since I got my first smartphone a few years after that, so many tools got kind of cast to the side in the wake of the smartphone becoming ubiquitous. So many other tools became relatively obsolete in the wake of that. And I'm sure the dictionary was amongst the first to go because the smartphone has access to the internet and you can get every word ever, and then you can also get it up to date by the second. So that is a little bit, I mean, the dictionary honestly can't touch this. But what can the dictionary do that the smartphone can't do? The dictionary just does dictionary. And I talk about this on the channel a lot. You know, iPod just does iPod. The dumb phone just does phone. The dictionary just does dictionary, and a book just does book. And that sounds limiting in a way, but it's limiting kind of in a good way. And it's limiting in a way that I've found to be quite beneficial to getting back, to clawing back some of my attention from these companies that work so hard to steal my attention from me. Look, everybody knows that those smart devices are pretty cool. There's a lot of really good features and tools built into them. That constant connectivity can be really troublesome. It can be really, really distracting, and it can make it really hard to get any good work done, especially when it requires sitting down and actually focusing on something. You know, in the past when I'd be reading a book and I would use my smartphone as my source for the dictionary, whenever I needed to look up a word, I would pick up my phone, I would look up that word, but then I would instantly be distracted by something else. Whether it was a notification for another app or a call or just the desire to check my email or something like that, I'm out of focus. I've completely lost whatever I was focusing on, and it's going to be hard to get back in that zone to concentrate once again. It's going to be a lot harder than if I picked up something like this. So initially I was just drawn to the dictionary as an experiment to see if I was able to just get a little bit more space between my smartphone and me, if that would benefit me. And I can tell you since that time, it has been extremely beneficial, and I've done a lot more reading ever since because of that too. I can't even imagine how much reading I have missed out on, how many more books I could have read had I not got caught up in my smartphone at any time I needed to look up a word. Because, I sometimes read some pretty verbose authors and I need to look up something that they've said, and I go into the phone and then I get distracted, and maybe 5 minutes is now spent on the phone when it could have been 10 or 15 or 30 seconds using this. That's a lot of wasted time that could have been put toward gaining knowledge, actually doing something that feels good at the end of the day, rather than just consuming the junk food of the smartphone. So that's been a huge benefit for me, and I definitely love it for that reason. The other thing for me is I love to read, going to bed. I love to use that as a way to fall asleep. And when I'm reading a book, I like to stick to reading a paper book of some kind. Here's just one of the ones that a classic of mine I really love, called Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. This book's super cool, but I just wanted to pull it out as an example. Sometimes I'll just, read a chapter from a book, even a book that I've went through before, just because I just really like the book and I want to just kind of, get into a nice headspace before falling asleep. And I always am sure to use a paper book, especially nowadays. I'm more cognizant of this. I want to use a paper book rather than an e-reader or something like that in those final few minutes, that last hour even, before going to bed. I try to distance myself from all technologies before going to sleep, just so that blue light's not hitting me, even if you don't believe in blue light, just so I'm not being woken up by the constant stimulation of the screens. I try to just do something like a paper book, something tangible like this. That's going to get ruined if I need to look up a word and then I have to go to my phone to look it up, right? So when I'm able to go from paper book to paper dictionary whenever I need a word defined, that's a lot better for me as well, and it helps me keep separated from those screens in those crucial final moments before falling asleep. And I think I've had a more restful sleep as a result. So now to talk about this particular dictionary. I switched to this dictionary not too long after making that video. This one was given to me by my brother as a gift. Before the dictionary that I just got at a thrift store. It was pretty good. It definitely kind of got me started, but an issue that I ran into pretty quickly was it was some sort of like simple dictionary. It didn't say that on the cover or anything like that, but anytime I'd run into like a semi-tough word, you just could not find it in the dictionary there. It was just not there. The words they would define are things like alert. Any sort of harder word than that pretty much was not in this dictionary. So pretty soon I kind of realized like this isn't going to be enough for me. My brother gave me this not long after, I think for Christmas, and this has been my go-to dictionary ever since. So for the past year, basically, this has been the one that I bring with me on the road. And one of my favorite things about this dictionary in particular compared to my previous one is that it's so small. This is a pretty small paperback book already, and this is the size that this dictionary takes up. So it's definitely a lot more pocketable and portable for me to bring with me, either when I just throw it in my bag to go out to read in the park, or whether I'm traveling and it's actually about how many books do I want to shove in my backpack when I'm already packing so lightly to begin with. So to have a smaller dictionary like this, it just guarantees that I'm going to bring this with me and that I'm not going to look to my phone for the solution. This one also packs a punch compared to the previous dictionary. It has 40,000 definitions. I was worried when I got this because of the gripes that I had with my previous dictionary that this one was going to be too small and not going to have enough words, but it's just extremely thin pages and small font. This is like Bible thin pages, and honestly Bible small font as well. So they're able to really pack a lot of words into this small form factor, and I appreciate that. My girlfriend hates the term form factor, so form factor. So I'm going a little bit overboard here with the dictionary, but what I want to say is if you're looking for a dictionary yourself, do yourself a favor and look for a pocket dictionary, because at first I thought I wanted like a huge dictionary, like one of the big hardcover ones that's like maybe this thick. Like I open it up and all this dust comes out, like just a giant like old tome of a book, right? But what I quickly found, even with the dictionary that I have, which by comparison to that was not actually that big, was that it was a little bit too big, and that it made me have this big stack of books, which wasn't a big deal for around the house or, reading out in the yard or even just reading down the street at a park. But it was a big deal when I was traveling. So to have a small dictionary like this, I think is invaluable, especially if you find yourself traveling once in a while. And I just want to reiterate how much the dictionary has helped me maintain my attention and focus while reading, because it used to bother me so much. One of my favorite things to do is sit in our backyard in the morning as the sun's coming up, especially when it's a little bit warmer out, and I'll read, and then I'll also write in my journal in the morning. It's one of my favorite just kind of morning routines. And I hated having to bring my phone out with me when I did that. But I knew that I was going to run into a word at some point that I didn't know, and I'd want to look it up and not leave it till later. And I had to bring my phone with me. And it was so frustrating because I knew that I was going to get sucked in at some point just by having that device with me out there. And I didn't want that. I wanted to have, a bookended day of an hour in the morning and an hour at night where I just was not interacting with any technology. Just before I go to sleep and just after I wake up, I don't want to do any tech. So it bothered me that I was bringing my phone with me for the eventuality that I would run into a word, and then I knew I would be distracted. So having the dictionary with me has been honestly awesome in this respect, because I can bring it out with me in the morning. I know if I run into any words, I'm not looking to a device to answer that question for me. I'm able to just get it the old-fashioned way and then get right back to reading. Well, that's just about it for today, folks. My thoughts on using a physical dictionary and why I'm going to keep using a physical dictionary into the future to resist digital distraction here in the smart world. What did you think of this video? Are you using something like this in order to kind of keep yourself separated from technology while you're doing your reading, so reading can remain a sacred thing between you and the paper book? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.